Welcome to Leading for Life Stories Season 4. I'm Bob Judson. I'm the host for this podcast, and thank you very, very much indeed for joining me. Whether you're a new joiner or a seasoned listener, then I really, really hope you enjoy the mix of content that we provide. The personal stories, the thematic episodes, and of course, the fantastic guest interviews. If you've been with me since the beginning, then I'm enormously grateful for your loyalty and thank you so much. If you're relatively new to the show, then I really hope you like it, and I hope you find all of it interesting and some of it hopefully useful to you. Please subscribe on whichever channel it is you're using, whether it's YouTube, whether it's a podcast platform. That really helps us boost the show and get it over the hills on the algorithms. So if you can do that for me, I would be enormously grateful. But without further ado, let's go. Welcome back, everyone. My guest this week is Andrea Reger. On her LinkedIn profile, Andrea highlights herself as a leadership, identity, and mid-career reinvention specialist. And when I talk to her, I can absolutely understand why. She's had a fascinating series of roles. She started out in Ryanair, having been born and brought up in Hungary initially. And then she moved to Ireland, where she still lives, and her family moved to Ireland as well, including her parents. And she moved from Ryanair to a increasingly senior series of recruitment roles in various companies. And she then very openly talks about her own personal challenges around burnout and so on and so forth. And though has done a lot to enhance herself in terms of her own well-being, her own mental health, her own therapies. She talks about cacao therapies, and you'll hear more of that in the episode. And it's a fascinating conversation because she's someone who's really been through all of this and therefore is now imparting that knowledge to others. She's on a PhD journey as well, so she talks a little bit about that, where she's going with that research and how that's panning out. And for anyone that is, I guess, at least had some experience of the challenges of overpressure and burnout in work, then this will be a very, very interesting episode, I think. So without further ado, let's go. Andrea, great to see you and have you on the podcast. Thank you very, very much indeed for joining. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Good morning, Bob. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here.
No, my great pleasure. And I mean, let's get straight into it. You've made a fascinating series of career transitions. I mean, Ryanair to start with. I'm loving the fact it says Europe's favorite airline on your on the LinkedIn from that. But I think there might be some people I know that would have a debate about that, but we'll see. Through a series of increasingly senior recruitment roles and now founding your own business. So just to get us started and kick us off a little bit, can you just give us that story? Tell us your journey so far.
My journey started back in Hungary. I finished high school and I wanted to make and earn my own money. So I started working, started on the corporate ladder right away in a customer service position. But also because my parents encouraged me to keep studying, I signed up for a part-time bachelor course. So immediately I found myself navigating dual personalities and roles as a worker, trying to establish myself in a professional environment and aiming for some sort of career advancement from the very beginning, and also studying and becoming a teacher. I studied to become a primary school teacher. So I was living my life like this until a point when I realized that's what I want to do, but in a different settings. And I also wanted to see the world and expand on my knowledge and skills as well. English language skills would have been one of them that I really wanted to learn more about and acquire to a more advanced level. So I was looking at opportunities outside of Hungary. That time I already realized that corporate world would not necessarily be my cup of tea. So although I advanced within a corporation, the minute I had an opportunity to partner with someone to work and establish a small company, I jumped into it. So with my sister and brother-in-law, we established an event organizing firm in Hungary, and we did a lot of events, like big events, couple of big events, and more smaller events as well. So I was already living some sort of freelance, self-employed, free life, learning English on the side, planning to move from Hungary to somewhere in the world. And that's what happened in 2005 when I joined Ryanair. And again, I started at the bottom, if you can say this. I don't want to be disrespectful, but that's, how I could get into the workforce on a contract, first of all, and second of all, as a cabin crew. And I really loved working as a cabin crew, despite of the fears I had, fear of height. I am claustrophobic.
Oh wow. Okay, yeah, that's an
Yeah,
interesting job. Your job choice then. Yeah.
and the flying was not my stuff at all, but that was an opportunity. And I was thinking to myself, like, what if I won't have any other opportunity? Like, life might not be generous with me again, presenting an opportunity. So I went for it and I started working with Ryanair. And Ryanair grew and has grown always so rapidly. So every year there was an opportunity to to see what else you could do. So I got promoted into the supervisor position after a year, and I got the Ryanair contract as well. And the year later, I become an instructor. So I started teaching new cabin crew recruits about the job and the beauty of flying. And I was doing that. I really enjoyed that. I could use my passion, the teaching degree, as well as my sole purpose at work. However, that suited me very well in my 20s to travel, because when I was teaching new cabin crew recruits, that meant I needed to be somewhere in Europe for 6 weeks, which is away from my own base, and my base was Dublin. And it suited me perfectly fine. I saw Europe, I could travel, I meet new people, but I was thinking to myself, as a woman approaching 30, what if one day I want to settle and have a family? Like, no husband would tolerate me as a wife to be away for 6 weeks pursuing her passion and leave, kids behind. And obviously that's not something you want to do when you're a parent and you decide to have a family. So an opportunity came up in Ryanair to apply for a management training program, and I went for that. It was a 6 months long recruiting process, and they selected 6 people from the whole company to participate in the management program, and I was one of them. So I was extremely happy for this opportunity. So my office-based chapter of my career in Ryanair started back then. And over the first year, I had experience working at different departments. Human resource management was one of them, but also operations, ground operations, and in flight. And I was doing a lot of work as an acting head of in-flight while she was on maternity leave, working very closely with the senior C staff members, including Michael O'Leary as well. And I loved that very much. And when this assignment finished, a recruiting manager position came up, as well as a chief instructor position came up. And I was a bit torn which one I should go for, because the chief instructor position would have been very close to my heart, but that would have required me to keep flying and keep being away. And the recruiting manager position seemed a bit more stable, more like grounded in Ireland. And I went for both. I was so lucky to be offered both jobs, and it was a big decision for me which one to accept. So I accepted the recruiting manager role. And again, I had some influence from my family as well. We can talk about that later, like why and how I made my decisions. And it seemed to be a right decision, but a couple of years into the position, I enjoyed so much and I learned so much on the job. But I realized I have to back it up with an academic paper. because no matter what happens in the future, which I obviously didn't know what could happen, but I wanted to be ready for that, whatever is happening in the future. So I signed up for a master's degree in human resource management in Dublin, and I studied for that degree while I was working. And during that time, I also met my husband and we got married, and I was expecting our first child back then while I was working on my dissertation. So it was fun time.
Busy time, I'd imagine as well.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like this word busy is a bit overrated and overused, I think. It's always eventful and exciting, as I would describe my life. And I believe it's as busy as I make it busy.
Hmm. No, that's very fair. Just carry on. I'm fascinated by the story. So from where you've got, so I mean that it's interesting because you said obviously you wanted to be more static in order to have the family and be there. So that bit has kind of come to fruition then in terms of what you wanted to achieve, right?
Exactly, exactly. So many things in my life intentional, but at the same time, you have no influence on everything. So you kind of go with the flow, but with some sort of intention, and you see what you can use from the opportunity that you are presented with and how that aligns with your overall plan, intention, and strategies. And adopt whatever is happening and like the GPS in your car, reschedule and replan it. So it was working fine, but I can say a lot of good things about Ryanair, and that's all true. But I couldn't see myself having a young family and working for such like rigid, like let's call company, and I understood why they needed to operate that way. But I also realized that not gonna work for me with a young family. So when I had my daughter, my second child, I decided not to go back. So I resigned after 10 years with two small kids at home from Ryanair, and I had my master's degree completed by then, graduated by then, and I knew I needed to find a different pace, a different style of company opportunity and career that would accept, promote, or even support me as a working mother of two. And that time, my parents relocated from Hungary to Ireland as well. They have become our like primary childminders. Because that was another thing when I moved to Ireland back in 2005. And I was looking around and seeing how other mothers and parents were navigating their working life. I was like, how people are doing this? Like when school finishes at 1:40 or 2:40, how can you be here until 5:30 and even expected to do extra hours? I couldn't comprehend this system, to be honest. So even back then, I realized I had to have some plans in place for me when I get there. So we kind of had an agreement with my parents that they would be willing to relocate to Ireland and be here. And everything has two sides, the coins, good and bad. And yes, it was great that they were here supporting us. So we, both of us could work, my husband and I. But also I found myself navigating, looking after two elderly kids, my parents, and two younger kids, my children. And yeah, it was another challenging chapter of my life. Especially my dad became ill, and his health decreased like significantly over a couple of years, and sadly he passed away in 2020. So
I'm
it
sorry.
was tough. Thank you. It was tough, and it all started in 2016 while I was loving my new career in the technological industry. I was finding myself again. I was enjoying the perks, the benefits, the new salary, because those are the things that I didn't have in Ryanair. So I really enjoyed that that side of my life. And I found myself as well facing a lot of challenges at home. So 2016 was a huge turning point in my life. My son, he was, how it was, 3.5, 4 years back then, was diagnosed with autism. And that was the year when my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And I got an autoimmune diagnosis myself with ulcerative colitis. So yeah, it was a little bit of
Wow.
wow, what's
Yeah.
happening?
I mean, they say things happen in threes, but that's really harsh. Yeah, and that's a tough time.
Yeah, but I like back then I didn't do any reflection. I didn't stop. I didn't think about the root cause or anything. I'm an action-oriented person, so if there's a problem, I solve it or I do everything to solve it. So I straight away went, okay, so what can we do about it? Um, I understand some people might just sit and complain and they are happy with that approach. That was never my style. Um, I either run away and start from fresh if I can't solve it, but I definitely do all the attempts trying to solve a problem if I am facing one or two or three. So all my focus went to my son and my dad, and I neglected my own needs. I just took the medicine I was prescribed, and I didn't care too much about me. Um, and because of my son, the whole new world opened up for me due to this diagnosis. I went for the first time in my life and explored alternative health and healing options
Hmm.
for different ailments. And that's how I come across with homeopathy. Like I really rejected the idea of homeopathy first. That was not the way how I was taught and raised and socialized. Like everything that's not science-based or something that you can't reasonably justify, it was dismissed in my family previously. So I had I felt as a mother I owned my own son just to be curious enough at least to learn something about it before I make a decision to dismiss or try. And we went down that route. My husband was like very neutral with that. He said, "Yeah, if you think that's something you want to explore, just do it." And we saw improvements on my son right away. At least he wasn't deteriorating further. And that
How
was
old was he at
already
that point, Andrea?
hit like four,
Okay.
four, four. It was just before started junior infants. And like he was non-verbal. He was still on his nappies and he had huge, big tantrums that I was so afraid that he would harm himself with those tantrums. So he couldn't sleep. So I was seriously sleep depleted for 4 or 5 years. We did not sleep for 4 or 5 years at all.
Wow.
Yeah. And when homeopathy came into our life, we slept. He slept through the night for the first time. He started talking. He he could throw away the nappies, and he was getting on a lot better with his development. So we were like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening. Maybe it would have happened anyway. That was our approach. Maybe
Mm.
he just growing out of this. Who knows? But we were just happy for the results and the direction, where his health was going. And also my dad was here in Ireland. He didn't speak English, so I needed to organize all the medical appointments for him. He couldn't drive because he was getting so weak, so I needed to drive him and translate. So it was a full-on job with two people around me, and I was also building my career, changing jobs. So from Yahoo, I went to Marketo, and from Marketo, I went to Autodesk. And both in Marketo and Autodesk, they hired me as a senior recruiter to establish a Dublin-based firm. So I was the only recruiter here in Dublin recruiting for Marketo. I recruited around 100 people in the first year. And in Autodesk, I recruited 200 people in the first year only. And so it was busy job, but I really enjoyed that doing. So things were going very well for my son. That's why I gotten interested in homeopathy. What's in it? Why is it working? It shouldn't be working. Like science is against this. So I found myself signing up for a weekend course. Okay, let's see what's in it. And then I got interested, so I signed up for the 5 months home prescriber course. And after the 5 months, I ended up signing up for a 4-year professional homeopath course, which I then completed after 4 years. So it was a very gradual, small increments of interest and learning curve.
But very purpose driven, though. I mean, obviously, if you started off with that all because of what had happened to your son, then you can completely see why it would drive an obvious passion within you to turn around and do more, learn more, understand it better. As to
Yeah,
as to why is it working? Yeah, that's totally logical. It's not like you just
yeah.
jumped into it. That's it's a great story.
No, and we started using it for everyday ailments as well, cold and cough and flu and fever. And and it worked. And again, we were just standing like, why? Like we couldn't. And then we realized, you know what? We don't necessarily have to understand this. Let's just be happy for the result or where we are right now with that. Um, so in Autodesk, I was working there, and there was a lot of promises at the beginning. I guess the business was very optimistic that they would be able to establish Dublin as a big European central hub. And there was a lot of promises that my position would grow into a senior manager role. And I was kind of like working towards that and making sure that I would be a good candidate should that position come up. And what happened in 2020, we all know COVID happened, but in addition to that, there was a temporary maternity leave position to fulfill a senior manager for the HR operations position, which I thought would be a great opportunity for me to show and prove that I am, and I do have the leadership qualities and the managerial skills and abilities. So I am still serious about making a promotion and a good career in Autodesk. So I took that position in August 2020. But my dad sadly passed away in October, so just 2-3 months into this position, and I pulled it through. I like we lived together, so it was very close. Obviously, everything that had been happening and around that time. But I didn't want to disappoint my manager, my team of 20 people, and also I was thinking, okay, this is reality. I can't change it. Like I did everything I could for my dad, and we need to live our life, and I think about my own children and my own life. So I was still aiming to finish the 6 months assignment as I signed and promised. So I went until February without a break. And in February, the position obviously concluded, the person came back. I received the bonus, complete successfully the assignment, and the position that they promised that they would be creating in Dublin, for whatever reasons, organizational, strategical, something changed. So they moved a lot of positions back to the US or to the APAC region. So the role was not available, and there was not even a hope anymore that there would be any senior leadership roles in Dublin. And in April, that was the day when everything just hit. What am I doing here, and why am I doing it? And most importantly, who am I, and who I want to be, and what's going on, and what's important.
Was there like a catalyst for that? Was there something, a trigger that actually made it a particular day, or what caused it?
It well, I think everything kind of accumulated into a certain point. Like I want to be honest and transparent here with you. The bonus payment in Autodesk was in April. So I really wanted to hold on and hang on to my annual bonus as
Hmm?
well, and not to fall out from the system before the annual bonus is paid.
Sure. Why would you not?
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So although in February, when I was extremely disappointed that the career opportunity was not there anymore as I hoped, and obviously I was grieving and still and all everything was coming up to the surface more often and more prominently. Also, my own autoimmune like illness was flaring significantly as well. And I was like, okay, I need to hold on to at least April. That's the story I was telling myself. Otherwise, they won't pay me. I don't think it would have been the case, but that's the story I was telling
Yeah.
myself. I have to work hard. I have to suffer for money. I had a lot of beliefs, which is a paradigm which is very difficult to break and change. I always thought I had to work hard and suffer for reward and for money. So I did suffer for my money and my bonus. And a week later, I was still pulling off the weight and showing up for work. And it was a Tuesday morning. Nothing really happened the night before. It was an ordinary Tuesday morning when the alarm went off. And normally I do the school run in the morning. And I just couldn't. I remember I couldn't. And everybody got surprised because I was the one who, no matter what happened, I was still up and doing and running and burning, the last drip of oil in my system and literally killing myself for everybody else just to do my job. But that day I said, I'm done.
Mm.
And they were like, but the kids needs to go to school. It's like, yeah, you're right. But I'm not doing it. And you're a mother. And I couldn't talk. I couldn't get. I stayed in bed for a whole day. An interesting experience. That how can I choose me? I still have two kids. I still have my mom, my husband, my responsibilities, my work, my bills, my everything. And for the first time, I chose me. I
Hmm.
stayed in bed. Yeah, I still
Wow.
get actually emotional just thinking about that
Yeah, I
day.
can see how much it means to you. I'm to be honest, I'm not surprised. I mean, if you've pushed to do all this stuff, and then something like that happens, it would be a very repeatedly triggering kind of event. And I mean, it's obviously sad that you got to that point, and but obviously the good thing is also you recognized that you were at that point, and you then did something about it. So, tell us about the journey subsequently then.
Yeah, recognizing that I needed to do something about it was there, but it was a very slow process because how I was socialized, trained, and raised, and what society expected me to do was take a medication, put yourself together, get on with that.
Yep.
Life is tough. Everybody's doing that, so go on. And for the first time, I said no. And it was a reaction nobody expected me to do. Neither did I, because that's something I never did before. So they didn't know how to handle me. I didn't know how to handle me. I was learning this, but everybody said, "Yeah, just give me a week. Well, I give you a week." I was like, "I need more than a week. It's not a week thing to recover from." And they were also telling me the doctors that I'll fix you up. And then I was thinking, how are you going to fix me up? Like I can't fix myself up. Why do you think you can fix me? So I just didn't understand. I appreciated the intention, but I was like, it's not a quick fix thing. Like it took me years to get to this point. So it's going to take at least a few months, if not years, to get
Mhm.
out of this point. That's how I was thinking. It's a long-term thing. So I didn't choose the fixed thing. I didn't choose medication. I didn't choose suppression. I didn't choose alcohol or drugs or any other stuff. I chose to suffer. I chose to face my pain, my mental, emotional, and my physical pain. I was in pain at all levels. But I needed to step away from the noise and see what's going on really inside and sit with it. And again, I was never taught how to do that. I didn't know. I didn't know what meditation was. I didn't know what mindfulness was. So I just needed to learn through experience. This is what when you're breathing and you listen to your thoughts and you don't act on it, because I was always hearing my thoughts, but I always act on those little voices, narratives in your head. You should do that. You should call this. You should. And then I decided I don't act on it. So what happened was, it was April. I took some time out. I told my employer, my manager, I'm going to take a bit longer, like sick leave. I have to address my flare up and my other emotional grief and stuff. And I ended up at a retreat here in Ireland. It was a 3-day retreat on the countryside. I had no idea what I signed up for, to be honest. I just told my husband, I'm going and I'll be back on Sunday. And again, that was another thing. How are you going by yourself and you leaving me with the kids? And I was like, you're going to sort it out. I'm pretty sure you will.
Yeah, your turn. Yeah.
I mean, he was always very cooperative and helping husband and father. But like he relied on me with everything, and now he needed to be in charge, fully in charge for 3 days. And my mom was with him anyway as well. So anyway, I went. I had no idea where I was going, and what's going to happen. I just knew I'm ready for whatever is happening. So I arrived that night, and a cup of hot chocolate was served to me and another 10 people in the room, with the music on and the lights and the candles and the scents. And we were sitting on the floor on a mat, and nobody was talking. We were we existed. We just be. And the cacao, the hot chocolates, which is a medicinal ceremonial cacao from Guatemala that we were drinking, it just opened up my heart, and it has a lot of like medicinal features and benefits. It's high in magnesium, so I immediately felt that, you know. And that night, something new started with the cacao. So I spent that weekend there. That's all what we did: cacao and music and meditation and these sound vibration healing equipments. And I came back on a Sunday, and I told my husband, I don't really know what is this hot chocolate or why is it working. I just know this is from Guatemala, this particular one that I consumed, and I'm going to Guatemala. I want to know more about this. And of course, he was like, why? It's such a bad idea.
He probably thought
You're
you'd gone
crazy.
mad at that point, didn't you?
Yeah, I was called crazy a few times in my life, and that was another one. And it was still 2021 and still pandemic, still, many countries under lockdown. We have 2 small kids at home. We were unvaccinated at that time. Still, like, it's not something that we wanted to do for a number of health reasons. And everybody was like, are you crazy? Go there and you're going to jeopardize and risk a lot of things. I don't know why, but I have to go. I told him. So I paid or I signed up for that, and my husband came with me. He said that he would be interested in the science side of cacao because he looked it up and he learned on the internet even back then that it has a lot of scientific evidence showing this is actually a good superfood for health. So he's interested in learning that, but he won't participate in the woo-woo meditation thing, whatever I'm doing. So we went, the two of us, and we spent a full week there in Guatemala at Lake Atitlan. And we visited two tropical cacao farms, plantation in the rainforest. And we did fire ceremonies and met Mayan elders and drank cacao and learned about cacao, the history, the science behind that, the ecology, everything. And we met a lot of people who would have been like outside of our normal circle. But yes, it was a good mix and combination of a diverse population of people, because there were many supporting partners as well joining the group, not just the fanatics, you know what I mean?
So
Not
this
just
was
the
like
ones.
it was like another retreat, essentially, was it, that you were
It
on
was.
doing it? Yeah.
It
Okay.
was a retreat. It was a cacao like facilitator training course. Basically, this is
Okay.
how they called it. But it was a retreat. We lived in a yoga farm in a small cabin, which was a self sustained area. They were looking after this. I'm eating vegan food, so it was a completely different type of getaway
Mm-hmm.
that you would normally have. It definitely was a huge eye-opening for me how little I need to find peace and balance in life. I just really wished my kids would be with us, but other than that, I could imagine just staying there and forgetting about the world.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah, and we came back. That was 1st of December that year, and I was like, I need to be honest, transparent with myself and with my employer as well, because my way is not going backwards, it's going forward. So I just put in my resignation then, because I realized I'm not going back to that job anymore. And that was a big leap. And I needed to grieve my achievement, my title, my salary, most importantly, my security. And I had no idea what's going to wait for me on the other side. I still had 2 years left to do the 4-year homeopathic course. I started seeing my own private homeopathic clients back then. And also I started my group cacao ceremonies straight away, even before Christmas. And I started my private life and career coaching business as well on the side with 3 clients right away. So I was doing and started right away my practice, my holistic life and career coaching practice. And that's what I did for full time for 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, as I said at the beginning, what a journey. I mean, amazing, really.
Mm.
Your the contrast of things that you've done and where it's taken to you, but actually with the context of understanding, first of all about your son, and then obviously yourself, and dealing with the impact of all of that. I can completely see why you've done that. I mean, you must have been, one of the things that must have been very, very difficult for you. I guess you lost your father in the midst of COVID, did you? And was that really challenging in terms of, because obviously funerals and things like that were terribly difficult, and was that really hard?
No, logistics wasn't hard at all. And we didn't lose him for COVID. It was cancer. And we were very fortunate that we could spend every single day with him.
Sure.
And the other thing is that he was given by the doctor 6 months to live in 2016. 6 months. And he passed away 4 years, 4.5 years later.
Yeah, that's great. It does make a
Yeah,
difference, and that being together thing makes a difference. My father died when I was very young. I don't remember him at all, but my mum died in 2007 of cancer, and
sorry to hear. Yeah.
no, thank you. It's a similar but different story, I suppose, in that I was at that particular point. I was in a military role that enabled me to actually be down with her a lot, which was really, really helpful. I mean, a year either side, and it would have made an enormous difference in terms of what I could have done and the amount of time I could have spent with her. So, because that is so important if you're able to, to be there, to be supportive, to just to feel like you've made a bit of a difference as much as anything else. So no, I get that totally. I'm pleased that you didn't have any logistic dramas, because obviously, notwithstanding that he didn't die of COVID, the reality was an awful lot of people dying in that time. It was terribly, terribly challenging. Certainly here in the
Yeah,
UK, there was awfully difficult for people to run funerals and attend funerals and all those sorts of things, which is very,
yeah,
very hard. Which I think just doubles the pain, really. But
yeah. No, we respected everything, how my dad wished things to happen, and we were able to do his way, with managing his illness as well as the goodbyes.
yeah, no, that's a good thing, that's for sure. And it's nice also that your parents came across. Have you got siblings as well, or is it just you?
I have a sister, yeah, sister and her family. She came at the same time
Is she
with my
still does
parents.
she live in Hungary, or is she living in
No,
Ireland
no,
now? She-
she came over with my parents and she's been here as well. Yeah,
oh
ever
wow. Okay,
since.
so your
Yeah,
wholesale move to Ireland from
yep,
Hungary. Yeah, nice.
yeah,
That must have made quite a difference for sure. I mean,
it did. Yeah.
just to tell me a bit more about what you've done with your own company, because I'm really interested in. I understand now what prompts you to go on your own, and a little bit about what it is you do. But what does the company do now? Who do you work with? What do they get from it, etc.? What's your focus?
So I'll answer your questions, but just to give you just to go back a little bit to that part. So I was so burned out by working in that corporate world where I needed to use my brain, the strategy, the thinking, the reasoning, that when I left that world behind, I intentionally activated my artistic, my softer empathy sides of my brain, my right brain. So I led my business, my clients, and myself, my own life with my heart, or I was trying to lead it with my heart rather than with my brain and my thinking. And that was, on reflection, not necessarily the best for the business strategy, because I was able to open up my clients' eyes and show them different ways of facing challenges through meditation, cacao, and all my tools, sound bath as well, and my strategical experience as a recruiter for almost 15 years. Um, I didn't want to acknowledge or utilize my strategical or planning skills. With other words, I didn't want to turn on my computer for a year.
Hmm.
I didn't want to have a business plan. I just rejected the idea of even thinking about business plan and numbers and budgets and finances. I didn't want stress, and this is how I I coped, which I ignored. It doesn't exist, and it worked for me. I was able to get better, and also my clients who came to me by making my offer attractive rather than chasing them. I couldn't be salesy. I couldn't go after, and I didn't want to convince people to get better. It wasn't my style. Like, if you don't want to get better, it's your decision. But if you
Hmm.
do, come to me and I'll be happy to show you the alternative ways that you might want to consider implementing into your life. That was my approach.
Hmm.
And it only worked to an extent, but it didn't bring me back to that financial security level that I was with my corporate job, which was okay for the first year or two. But then we found ourselves living in Ireland, um, all the bills, all the expenses, the cost of living been going up drastically. And we just couldn't keep it up with one certain income, and with my business, whether or not brings it in the gap or not. So I needed to come to a realization that I had to be more strategic with my work. But if I did that, I had a fear I would lose my heart approach, my offering approach, my healing side of my business. And I didn't want to see the dollar signs in my clients' eyes. I wanted to help them, like like genuinely getting better rather than telling them to come back to me for a second consultation just to be able to charge them another €100, whatever. It wasn't I was happy
Yeah,
for
yeah.
them to
Yeah.
be better. You know what I mean?
No, no,
So
totally.
that's so good for business.
Well, no, good for you though, because I think that is, particularly in that kind of business, I think you're not doing the cold call, hard sell kind of approach, and
Yeah,
come to me if you want help. Then I mean, I think that's a great style, and so actually, as you say, not being merciless about the money because it has got to be about satisfaction and support, and people actually genuinely feeling that they've got the very best from it as well. And I'm sure that's probably helped you in the longer term as well, has it?
it did, but it was again a tough decision. So I had to go back and find a full-time employment that would bring me a secure
Sure.
income stream. So we would go back, to a comfortable like living financially. So that's how I ended up working or finding a job at the Technological University Dublin. I didn't want to be employed ever again in my life. So it was a huge decision, and it was very tough for me as well to get through or manage my own mindset, what this job is for and what this job is not for, and that this job allows me to stay with my heart in my business, and whomever comes and works with me, I genuinely can be present for them and help them with what they need help rather than having a
Hmm.
hidden agenda of ripping them off, with as much as I can. And when I started working with Technological University Dublin as a student recruiter lead, I realized that, or I was obviously told that one of, or pretty much the only perk is in a public sector to do any courses in the Technological University Dublin. And I was thinking to myself immediately, I kind of had been studying in my whole life, and this is just the way how it happened. Although I thought after I finished my high school that I would never study again, but I still ended up studying throughout my whole life. And then I was thinking to myself, okay, so I have an opportunity. Here I am again. I am presented with an opportunity. I paid a lot of money for all of my previous qualifications, like thousands, tens of thousands euros. And now I can do one for free. And I was like, I told my husband, I'm thinking about doing another course. Because it was tough on them as well. When I was studying for my homeopathic degree, I was away for a whole weekend every single month for 4 years.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
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 it
yeah.
was a
With two
huge
young kids as
commitment.
well. Yeah, it is. Yeah, big commitment.
Yeah, for me, for them. And then when I came up with an idea that I want to study again, like he was like, "Oh my God, he's gonna divorce me for sure."
What does your husband
But
do, if you don't mind me asking?
he's an engineer. He originally is a telecommunications engineer, and he works in a support position in Autodesk. Actually, he
Oh,
works as
wow.
well.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Yeah.
yeah, we shared some time together there. So he's still there. And um, and then I started exploring what kind of course I would love to do. And I have a passion for baking. I bake a lot of birthday cakes. Since my son's first birthday, I am a nominated baker in my family. I bake all the birthday cakes for everyone. And I love it. And I learned and taught myself how to decorate the cakes. And I really feel passionate about the taste and the design of the cakes as well. And I was thinking maybe I should do some culinary course. And I was thinking I could do an MBA, but do I really want to do an MBA? I don't really want to lead anymore a big company. And my company is as good as it is, I mean, in terms of size. And then I was thinking, well, I have a master's, so what's next after? And then came to, okay, that's PhD, that's the research. And my dad's brother, my uncle, he was a lecturer in a university in Hungary. He had been telling me for years that I should do a PhD, and I kept telling him and rejected his idea that I can't. Like I have two small kids. I'm a woman. Like while I work and I study, I still need to do the shopping, the cooking, the cleaning. I am the first of kin for everyone. Like, I just can't. I couldn't see myself doing. And also paying for it again, like, no. And then here I was again with an opportunity, and I was like, okay, maybe this is the time for PhD. So I started entertaining the idea, and I started doing some research on how to do research and how to find supervisor and what are the first steps. And it was not easy finding a supervisor. Reached out to a few people, and I was also thinking about what I should do my research on. And that's another thing I couldn't really settle, because my passion was in the new holistic, area, mindfulness, mind yourself, how to manage your anxiety, your depression, your health in a more natural, organic way. That's definitely where my passion was and still is. But I couldn't ignore my background of 15 years experience as a recruiter in human resource management, and also my master's qualification. I was like, something should kind of, naturally flow or result into this masterpiece of PhD research. So long story cut short, I was debating where to go on what topic. I was talking to supervisors as well, and one day I found a supervisor whose reaction was, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. I was like, oh my God, somebody's listening. How nice it is. And he got an interest in my background and how versatile my experience is. And, one conversation followed another conversation. And then I was like, could I do a research on people like me who left the corporate world and started a holistic wellness entrepreneurship? And he was like, well, you tell me, like, go off, read the literature, tell me what's there. And like, it could be a wallet. And it's so interesting. I started reading the literature, the articles, and the academic conversations. And I was like, oh, it wasn't just me. It is a thing. Other people are doing it as well. Then I was like, maybe that's valid. Maybe people want to know about this as well. So how I can contribute into the knowledge that's already there, and what is my unique angle. So that's all started evolving, piece by piece, little by little. And then a methodology came into the conversation as well, how I would approach this topic. And I was sure I needed to, or I wanted to use interviews, because that's something I was been familiar with and been using. So what's the methodology that I could use interviews as my main data collection method? Came across the interpretative phenomenological analysis, which is interpreting the candidate, the participant's interpretation about a life event. I was like, wow. So it's not just a life event I am interested in. Actually, I'm interested in how subjectively they perceive that they lived, and what do they think about it, and how they interpret it. And then I can take my interpretation on the interpretation. So I was like, that's fascinating. It sounds complicated. It's exciting. Challenge, always something I liked. But achievable challenge. Like, if something is outside of your reach, it's not challenge anymore. So it has to be something that you believe you are capable of achieving. One thing led to another. And when I started reading about the methodology information as well, I realized that there's a lot of suggestions to make your participants at ease before you start the conversation, the interviews. And for me, as a PhD researcher, and as well as other researchers, the data that the participants are sharing with you, it's vital. So you need, I will, and everybody relies on the narratives, the information that they are sharing. So I was like, how can I maximize that data that they're sharing through narratives in order for me to have enough useful material to present as my doctorate dissertation? And then from my own experience, well, if I am actually calm, if I am in a present moment, if I can focus with my whole body, mind, emotions to what I'm saying, this is how I can share the most. And I was like, as an interviewer, how I can help the participants to arrive to that mindful present moment. And then I was like, of course, like the way how I do it for myself with meditation, mindfulness, and then the vision board, the pictures. Like we all know pictures say 1,000 words. And I was also thinking about people like me whose English is not their first language. Like they might not be able to tell me exactly what they mean, but the picture can represent exactly what's going on or what they went through. So then I came up with an idea and I told my supervisor, I can't see anything in the literature on the how to make the participants relax, how to create that rapport with your participants. So I have an idea and this is my idea. And he was like, okay, tell me more. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, let's write about it. So I wrote an abstract about this idea and we submitted to the qualitative methodologies conference and they accepted it. So I went to Madrid this year in January to present this idea in front of an academic audience. And following this presentation, they invited me to write a full article about this innovative pre-interview preparation framework. And I just submitted my draft on the 1st of July. And I don't know if it's going to be accepted or not, but the fact that I was able to bring mindfulness in front of an academic audience and kind of bridging my words and bringing it together, it's already an accomplishment for me on its own.
When do you find out?
Couple of months. It's not a quick process, but hopefully in the next couple of months. And
okay. No, I wish you the very best of luck. Good.
Thank you.
That's great stuff.
Yeah.
So looping back, I mean, the PhD, I mean, your kind of capacity to do stuff amazes me. I mean, you've got a university degree, you're running a company doing what you're doing a PhD, you've got a couple of kids. Yeah, I mean, your life is pretty full on. But tell me a bit more about the company, because Arch Ireland, and the genesis of it and what you're doing with it.
Andrea Reger Center of Healing or Career Horizons. Again, I'm changing a little bit of a direction. I just want to keep it. I wanted to create an umbrella, a shell where people can come in and kind of customize what they need at what point in time. So it's more like designing your life, and I'm helping you to design your life rather than trying to pursue a career that might not work for you or for this generation any longer, or for women particularly. And this is my cohort as well, the sandwich generation women. It doesn't work for us anymore to stay on track on a very rigidly laid track. That never worked for women, and it's not working anymore. So what I'm doing is I'm helping people to realize what life they really want. What is it that they are pursuing? What are their values? What's important to them? What are their needs and their values and their interest? And how they can bring these three things together. And in the middle of these three things, where the honey pot is, where the magic could happen. And it's very difficult if you don't tap into your soul and into your heart, because your brain is going to justify something that you learned, that you should be happy for, you should have it, you should go for. I just had conversations even this week with people, and they told me, but I want that, I want this. And then I give them my pictures and the glue and the tools and the colors. And I was like, okay, here is a blank page. Put the pictures, from this scrapbook, whatever you want, you resonate with. And they realize whatever they put in the middle, it actually was nothing to do what they told me beforehand they wanted. Mm-hmm. And that's a huge aha moment for many people and realization. And also, we want to rush things. We are so good at multitasking and being busy and being proud of being busy and managing 1,000 things at a time. But that's not what I do, and that's not how I do things. I really slow down. I don't multitask anymore. I don't do 1,000 things anymore. I do them in compartments. Don't do them together. I assign the time for this and I move on to that. But when I'm in that compartment, I give my focus attention of 100% or even more. And then I move on. So I can have a colorful, diverse life. And I believe I do have that, but I don't wash it or try not to wash it over with one thing to another. And that's what I'm teaching to my clients as well. And the other thing I realized from the literature, from my own life, and that's another thing I encourage people to realize as well, that you might not get everything from one source, and that's okay. So if your job is there to pay your bills, that's okay, but don't wait and don't expect your job to fulfill your dreams and your purpose. And if the job doesn't do that, which you're aware, don't get disappointed. Don't get angry about this every day because you knew you can't expect it. So just accept this is not the role of that job and just create something parallel or on the side or in addition that gives you that purpose and meaning and fulfilling as well.
Fascinating stuff. I mean, are you focused exclusively on women?
Well, no. I have a male client as well and been working with him for 3 years at this stage. So not exclusively for women, but you know the ratio, like women are more open to learn.
Sure.
They're more open.
I can see the appeal would be there more obviously, and particularly with your backstory and everything else that's there. So, I mean, just before we move off it, because it's a very relevant time to talk about it, how do people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about this? Because it does sound really interesting what you're doing.
Yeah, I have a website, www.andreareger.com. So myname.com.
Very easy then. Great.
Very easy. I'm on Instagram as well. On Instagram, it's Art Cacao. So I still kept Art Cacao, but cacao is just one of my tools. I really wanted to grow and evolve my working identity and also my own personal identity. It's not just about cacao, because it's okay if you don't like cacao or you don't resonate with cacao. I still can help you. You still can use other tools. And in fact, you might have other ways of finding yourself. It could be yoga or any other. It doesn't matter. I am empowering people to take charge, to be the leaders of their life, but be open-minded and they to learn, what's out there and see how other people are doing, but don't copy them. Just copy their approach, their attitudes, the success recipe, and make it your own drink or make it your own way.
No, fascinating stuff, and actually a beautiful segue with what you've just said, because the podcasts since I started it nearly 3 years ago, it's always been about leadership. That's the sort of center theme of what I talk about, and it's what I obviously do for a living as well. I'm just really interested in your reflections on your own journey, because that's clearly been very successful through a number of roles up to quite a senior one, but then the challenges you had at the end of it. And then what you're now doing in terms of, as you just said a second ago, finding the leader in themselves, for the people you're working with, what you see in others and what you think is important, and where leadership kind of fits for you, as it were. How do you see all of that?
Definitely a driven personality. And I know some people were born to be driven, and some people need to make an effort to find a way to move forward, to go with things. Like open-mindedness, I think it's very important as well. For me, it was very important to have guidance. And the guidance initially came from my dad, and he gave me a lot of direction or let's call it expectations or values. And I always wanted to live up to his expectations and values. And then there was a point when I said, okay, what is it that I'm learned from him, and what are those values and expectations that I truly expect from myself, and it's coming from inside. Um, and also, what's not easy for many people, but for some reason, I thought courage is something I've come a long way. I wish I would have been more courageous at the beginning and stand up a little bit more for myself, knowing like what I wanted. But again, you're learning, how to use your voice, and how to when like that's a fine line between being like stubborn and rigid and being like a learner, an open minder, a lifelong learner as well. And sometimes you can't be in the middle. Sometimes you zigzag between one and two, and then you find a way. Um, yeah, these are the things I definitely have. Courage, and with a confidence comes with courage, but it's like confidence is not something I think is always there. Like everybody feels imposter so many
Sure.
times.
Yep. I mean, yeah, I totally agree with that. Interestingly, some of the training I do, there was a question from a participant a while ago on one of the courses I was doing about where she was, it was a lady, she was asking about imposter syndrome. And my initial response was I just looked at the rest of the room. I said, hands up if you either have or have suffered at some point from imposter syndrome. And pretty much everyone, including me, put their hands up. And I think she was really surprised by that because I think she genuinely had felt that it was just her, it wasn't a kind of broadly felt thing, whereas in reality virtually everybody does. So no, I think it's a really important point.
And that's why it's important to educate yourself and know other people feel or have felt at some point in life this way, and still showed up, still went there, still tried it, and still doing what they're doing. Because it doesn't mean they have everything figured it out. It means that they are trying, and trying, I think it's very important as well. And that gives me courage, seeing other people trying and doing their best as well they can.
Mm.
And resilience is another one, resilience, adaptability. And my new term I came across from the literature, and I realized that's so true, especially after COVID, is anti-fragility. I don't know if you heard about that, anti-fragility.
Anti-fragility. Nice.
Yeah,
No, I hadn't heard it as a term, but I know I can get what that means. Yeah, yeah.
it's absolutely fascinating, because resilience is bouncing back to where you were before the negative event happened. But if I reflect back on my life and I see my clients' life as well, they didn't just bounce back after something happened to them. Actually, they bounced forward. They benefited from that negative event. And if you look at your life this way, that yes, I am not necessarily where I want to be, but actually I wouldn't be here if that negative event hadn't happened. And that gives you a brand new perspective and mindset and
Mhm.
focus for your
Yeah.
life.
Oh no, 100%. I mean, everything shapes you, doesn't it?
Yeah,
And I mean, the age-old expression is that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I mean, there's a degree
yeah,
of truth in that for sure.
yeah.
I think if it pushes you, stretch zone, panic zone, all those kind of things that I talk about a lot when I'm doing training. I think they are all highly relevant because if you are finding a way to deal with whatever problem, crisis, challenge that you're facing, you must learn from that. You must actually turn around and take the benefit from it and actually build on it. With that in mind, I mean, when you look back across what's been quite a very interesting life from an early days, if you were providing advice to yourself as a young Andrea now, what
Mhm.
would you be saying to her, particularly if she was entering the world of work today, with what you're looking at, what advice would you offer?
Probably the same that I would give to my own kids as they are growing into young adults now. Um, that like have the courage to pursue what you'd like to pursue, and not to feel guilty or ashamed about things that it's outside of your control. Like, I give you an example. Like, I'm from Hungary. We speak Hungarian in Hungary. Like, English is something I needed to learn to speak. And it was always the frustration point for me, whether my English is good enough, whether my accent is good enough. And every time when somebody asked me, oh, where is your accent from? Or where are you from? I felt immediately attacked. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. I never be good enough. And that's why I doubted myself many times. And that's why I accepted I didn't get the opportunity because my English. But I had the ability, the skills, the knowledge, and everything else, but I didn't stand up and I didn't fight or made myself available as much as I could have because of this self-doubt and and belief that I didn't deserve because English is not my native
That's
language.
very, very interesting on language because I mean your English is phenomenal, and you know the interesting thing I was thinking as I was listening to you, you have picked up a bit of an Irish accent. You know, you
Oh,
can hear that in the
21 years.
yeah,
21
you
years.
can
Yeah.
definitely hear that in there. So yeah, but it's fascinating you say that you know you felt attacked when people were actually asking you that because it is of course a question people ask a lot because they'll hear you're speaking English. I know an awful lot of people in the world speak English brilliantly, but they still have got some kind of accent from wherever they came from, and of course English people in particular. You know, or British people are likely to turn around and go, oh, "Where were you from originally?" You know, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's. I don't think anybody doing that would be doing it in a hostile kind of
Yeah.
way. But it's interesting. Your perception, of course, is very different. Yeah, it's
It's a
fascinating.
cultural thing as well, I think. Cultural thing.
Sure, sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I learned that, and I'm fine with that now, but I wasn't when I moved to Ireland. So it's obviously it's a lot of evolvement, change, and growth went into that. So I really want for my kids to be able to go after what they truly feel passionate about. So finding their passion and then trying to make a life and living out of that passion. And I would love to believe that I can support them with that rather than having a predefined idea in my head that I would force them to follow. No,
Sure.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very challenging arena to be pushing them in a particular direction, isn't it? So no, that's
Yeah.
great. I always tend to talk about highs and lows because I think in anybody's journey, it's an important one where everyone's got them. They vary, obviously, a lot. But a career high point for you from a professional standpoint, what's your career high point?
So I've been thinking about that. And to be honest, I don't have a straight answer to this question because it depends what you mean by high point.
Okay. The point in your life where you felt you had so far at least, because you've got plenty of it to go, your greatest achievement, if you like, so far? What's the thing you're most satisfied with?
So again, I need to break this down a little bit because in terms of the closeness to the top and the involvement into strategical decisions and being able to act and manage as a leader and learn from great leaders, mentors, and examples, it was definitely in Ryanair. And the title and the closeness, the involvement, the learning, it was all there. So that was definitely a high point for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you think about your financial achievement and highs, that was definitely in Autodesk. That's where I reached my highest salary and my highest income.
Mm-hmm.
And it was way higher, like way higher than in Ryanair. So which is it then? And I was very proud coming from a working middle class family from Hungary to achieve that level of salary. I was extremely proud to make it that high financially. But when I think about where my soul feels home or when I feel truly pursuing my own self and desire, I think I am at the beginning of my next peak right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think it's entirely appropriate that people have different high points. I mean, and that's absolutely the case for me. If I look back across my career, I've got a number of things where I would turn around and go, yeah, these were really notable things, and picking out a single one is hard. So I know I totally get that, and I think the financial reward is part of your life, obviously, in terms of success. But obviously, the other part is if you found something that is actually not financially rewarding, particularly at all, but is actually still incredibly personally satisfying and fulfilling. And yeah, absolutely, that's just as
Yeah.
relevant. So no,
I
terrific.
never felt as balanced ever in my life right now. I feel I have the security. I feel I have the time. I still have the time to pursue my own personal goals as well as the family goals, while I have the energy, the scope, and the opportunity for others as well to look after and care for. So I believe my life is as full and as complete as it can be, to be honest,
Yeah,
right now.
nice. Very nice. I mean, you
Mm.
mentioned, if it's not too personal a question, you mentioned when you were talking about your son earlier, obviously diagnosed with
Mm.
autism when he was 4. I mean, that's clearly a number of years ago now. I'm just, and obviously that was where the homeopathy side started and so on. How has that evolved over time? Has it made continue to make a significant difference to him?
Oh yeah. He's thriving. Yeah, no, absolutely. He finished the first year in secondary school. He still needs help with social interactions
Sure.
and activities. He finds it very not difficult, but
Challenging.
challenging
Yep.
to connect with others. But if you want to be honest, like I think it's so challenging for everybody these days finding the way to connect in real life, right? Because we are so
Yeah.
used to texting and emails and so on. So that's the only thing. But the school is great, so they provide support. So if he needs some time out from the noisy class, for example, or some extra help or guidance, people are there for him. So it's brilliant. But other than that, he's like traveling, taking the bus by himself from home to school and back home. And he's doing great academically. He's one of the best, if not the best, in mathematics and English. Despite we don't speak English at home, we speak Hungarian at home, but they are still thriving in English as well and
Ah,
Irish,
that's
which is funny.
fantastic. Well, I'm really pleased to hear you say that as well, because it'd be very
Yeah.
easy after 21 years in Ireland to actually be, you're kind of more focused on English rather than anything else. And I think
No.
if you've got another language like that, it's so
Yeah.
valuable to preserve it and to have them, obviously kids are sponges, so they'd just be completely bilingual, right?
They are,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
are, they
yeah,
are. Yes,
fantastic.
yes.
Oh, that's
So
so good to hear.
we we
That's really
very
nice.
pleased. It's been a long road with him, but we are very pleased. I don't think it's over. Like it's continue like everything. You need to maintain and practice
Mm.
your your activities, and the habit is something you develop. But if you don't maintain, you fall back to
Cool.
where you were. So it's a continuous care and support we all need with all levels. So, but yeah, no, we are very happy. We are very happy.
That's really good news.
Mm.
Sadly, I'm going to drag you to a different place now because I'm going
Yeah.
to ask you about low points. Because, I mean, you obviously talked about burnout. I mean,
Yeah.
very, very clearly, and that must have been a very, terrible time for you in many ways. But I mean, is that your low point, or have there been any other sort of real career low points?
Um, and that was definitely a low point, but I didn't live through that period of my life as a low point. I knew this is a transition time. Something must change. And I'm like organically a positive person. I really like to think the glass is half full. So okay, it's bad now, but it's an opportunity to do something about it. With the diagnosis for my son and with my own diagnosis and my own circumstance, it's a wake up call. Like I still have a chance to do something about it. I'm not dead yet. Like I think until I'm here and wake up and open my eyes, I can do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how I approached my low points as well. Yes, it's not good. And I had other disappointing points in my career as well previously. But I can do something about it, and let's see what is it? What am I going to do about it? And if I couldn't figure it out by myself, I asked for help. Like, I do have mentors. I had coach for a year back then as well. And I talked to people, and as I said, I have role models I follow, and I see and learn their teachings, and I pass it on to my circle. So that's how I perceive as a low point. It's an opportunity to make changes.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes absolute sense. And I think it's great when you can do that, and you can look at it as almost, you'd say, right, it's an opportunity, and and you're focused on, yeah, it's happened, whatever, and you just kind of go, right, pick myself up, move on. And I think it's the age old thing, is it's not how hard you fall, it's how quickly you get back up. I mean, that's so true. And not kind of wallowing in self-pity when you're in these positions, and working through them, because it does, it's back to your resilience point of earlier. I mean, I think, if you are a resilient human being, that really helps. It really helps to take you along that journey.
And I'm pretty sure I have, and I will be sitting in a dark room in a corner feeling sorry for myself. It has happened, and it will happen, but it's not useful, is it? It's okay to recognize it. It's okay, as I said, to sit with it. But then what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
It's a sign. It's a message.
What you just said there is an expression I use a lot. This is not useful. Because it is about, okay, I'm in this situation, I can't do anything about it, I can't wind the clock backwards. We need to find a useful way of moving forward, not and I think that's so true for an awful lot of things in life.
And that helped me to go through and overcome a lot of challenges. We just recently did a house renovation in the past year. It was a nightmare. I wouldn't relive my last year, to be honest. And every time when we had a problem, and we had problem after problem, it was all about, okay, what this situation, first of all, what is it that this situation is teaching me? What am I learning here? Whether or not I might have not wanted to learn this lesson, but this is the lesson I'm given. So what am I learning? What am I going to do with that? And how am I going to move from here? Because this is what it is. I can't change this, but I can change how I react and what I do next.
Brilliant point. We've already, there's a couple of questions I've got left for you. You obviously have a very busy life, and have had a very busy life for a long time, and you clearly have kind of discovered meditation, mindfulness, and all the rest of it. Is that your relaxation go-to thing, or are there other things you do to kind of de-stress, relax, and take yourself away from the kind of pressures of the world?
Well, cacao is definitely my go-to drink. I really loved beer in the past, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie, I love beer. I haven't drinking alcohol for almost 2 years at this stage, and even before, it was more like social, casual. But I just, alcohol, as we said, not useful for my health and my anything. Anyway, and cacao is, and it works. So that's my go-to drink. If it comes to a drink. But believe it or not, doing a research, a PhD, is my little haven, my little escape from the everyday buzz and reality. I really like to just come into my own little bubble here in my room and just do work on something, which is a marathon job, right? It's going to be another good few years. But I truly believe I'm going to leave some sort of legacy behind, and just gives me the satisfactions just to do something meaningful, while it's actually helping me today with my English, with my reading skills, with my communication skills, everything, and my knowledge. So that's another thing, how I celebrate how far I've come, because I couldn't have ever imagined I would do this in English at this level ever in my life. So it's a little bit of celebration and perspective to the future. but also gives me an escape from reality.
Yeah, nice. I have to say, doing a PhD in another language, I mean, actually doing a PhD full stop would be a terrifying prospect for me. So doing it in another language, huge respect for you for doing that. There's two final questions. I always ask these two questions at the very end of my my podcast interviews. And the first one is, what's the most memorable event, single event of your professional life?
I still remember the day when I flew from Dublin to Budapest on a Ryanair aircraft with Michael O'Leary only, and maybe two more members. The whole plane was just for 4 people. And we went to a press conference to Budapest, and I helped him to translate. I was already pregnant with my son back then. And it was an unfortunate situation because Malev, the Hungarian airline, actually just went bust. And we went there to take and interview as many pilots and cabin crews as we could. So I went with Michael O'Leary on a kind of private jet. Well, it was normal aircraft. For that press.
Yeah,
release.
that would be a
was
pretty
good.
memorable experience.
That was cool.
I can totally believe
Yeah.
that. Oh, it's interesting.
And
I'm going to digress slightly and take it on one from that, because when you've obviously you really enjoyed your time at Ryanair. You've made that very clear, and there is a perspective on Ryanair and on particularly on Michael O'Leary in terms of his approach and his kind of. I mean, he's obviously focused on the low-cost airline bit, but there's a sort of a bit of a joke about customer service is the last of the things they're interested in, and it's sort of super low cost and no frills, and it's just like getting on a bus and all those sorts of things. What's Michael O'Leary like as a person to work with then? Did you enjoy working with him?
well, he has to be the way how he is, otherwise he wouldn't be successful, and Ryanair wouldn't be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to separate as a person and as a business persona or identity.
Oh, interesting. So you think you feel that actually as an individual he's quite different to his business head?
I mean, I didn't work on a day-to-day basis with him. I know and I heard and I see, and it's difficult. But would it be, if it was easy, would the company and he be as successful?
Yeah. No, it's a very fair point. I can totally see that.
I'm not sure. And just on going back to your point, I believe, and I'm not saying, I'm obviously no reasons to say that, but they really pay a lot of attention back then and even now on customer service. I think that has definitely come a long way. It might have not been true 20, 25 years ago, but I think it's a lot of things that changed. Customer service was always important, but not as important as safety.
Sure.
I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Like, safety is the number one priority
I mean,
for the
particularly
airline.
in an airline. I mean, as a professional pilot myself for a long time, I mean, safety is absolutely paramount. No, I totally get that. No, that's fascinating. I'm just interested in your perspective. It's really good. The very last question then, Andrea. Thank you very much. You've been really kind with your time. I mean, what's the most difficult question you've ever been asked?
Apart from this?
Yeah, you're not the first to say that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Most difficult question. I actually didn't think about that. I need to come back to you on that. I promise I will.
It doesn't matter at all. As I say, you're not the first to turn around and say this one, because it is, for some people, it is very difficult to reflect on what the difficult question is. But no, don't worry about it. That's great, Andrea. Fascinating story. I mean, to be honest, we've gone to places I didn't think we were going to. Looking from our initial call and then the kind of conversation we've had. I mean, you have had the most amazing life and incredible success, and I wish you absolutely every success with what you're doing now with Arch Ireland. I mean, I think it sounds like a great initiative. I really hope that this helps to get a bit of notice out about you, and would absolutely encourage anyone who's interested in what you're doing and needing a bit of help with their own kind of career transition, mindfulness, supporting their life and thinking about how they're actually managing their way through some difficult challenges, to come and talk to you. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you so much, Bob, for inviting me. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you for listening, and thank you for everyone who is taking the time to listen. And if anybody has any questions, I am so happy to listen as well and see how I can help.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Andrea. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
I really hope you've enjoyed this conversation with Andrea. I thought it was terrific to talk to a really engaging personality doing some amazing stuff and some fascinating work. So I hope that resonated with you and you found it certainly interesting and possibly in many instances quite useful in terms of what she's actually doing. I know she's always delighted to connect with people who want a bit of help, so I'll put all those details in the show notes for the episode as well. But if you did enjoy it, please share it. Please like it. Please comment on it. Please forward it on, repost it, all those kind of things. Please ensure that you are subscribing to whichever channel it is, whether it's a podcast platform or if it's on YouTube, then obviously that subscription is also really important. And if you really found it valuable and you're getting real value from this, as I always ask, please think about that financial subscription bit. Just think about it as buying me a cup of coffee for providing you with some entertainment and some interest on a weekly basis. And if you're a regular listener, then it's not going to cost you a lot of money, that's for sure, if you're looking at it on a per episode basis. So please go to the support the show link in your podcast platform or the link that's in the YouTube notes for YouTube, and it'll take you to my Patreon site. It'll offer you the opportunity of becoming a supporter, a champion, or a patron of the show, and you can join up there and basically buy me exactly that: a cup of coffee at the basic level, cup of coffee and a sticky bun at the top end of it. So it's not going to cost you a bunch of money, but it will really, really make a big difference to me. It makes the podcast all the more worthwhile from my point of view in terms of time, effort, etc., etc. So lovely if you can do that. Don't worry if you can't, if you haven't got the means to do that. I'm completely okay with it. That's why I do it for free. I don't charge for it. But obviously, if you can help, I'd be delighted. So thanks very much either way. And either way as well, I will see you again very soon with another great episode. All the best. Bye now.